It was one of those perfect Saturday mornings that smell like fresh-cut grass and quiet victory. The kind of day where the sun hits just right, coffee tastes better, and you think, yeah, today's going to be peaceful. I should have known better. The HOA had finally approved our community yard sale weekend, and I was all in. Tables lined my driveway, loaded with forgotten treasures, old vinyls, tools, and a few vintage pieces I'd inherited from my grandma. The neighborhood was buzzing with small talk and soft laughter, until that voice shattered it all. "Excuse me, who gave you permission to sell all this junk?" There she was, Karen Williams, head of the HOA Compliance Committee and self-proclaimed guardian of neighborhood standards. The woman had a clipboard like it was a weapon and a resting face that could sour milk. I smiled, pretending not to notice the storm brewing in her eyes. "Morning, Karen. It's the HOA sale weekend. You approved it yourself, remember?" Her lips tightened. "Yes, but there are rules. Signs must be uniform, displays neat, and nothing should be sold that could degrade community aesthetics." I glanced at the vintage lava lamp glowing softly on my table. "You mean this?" "I'd say it enhances the aesthetics." She didn't laugh. Not even blinked. Instead, she took a picture of my setup on her phone like a crime scene investigator. "Expect a notice of violation." People around us shifted awkwardly, pretending not to watch. I just sighed and kept helping customers. I wasn't about to let her ruin my day. Then something interesting happened. Around noon, while Karen had stomped off somewhere to measure another neighbor's lawn, a tall man in a baseball cap strolled up. He was friendly, polite, asked about an old leather jacket I had for sale. We chatted for a bit. He said it reminded him of his college days. He paid cash, thanked me, and left. 10 minutes later, Karen came back, red-faced, hair frazzled, clutching her clipboard like it was life support. "Did you sell a brown leather jacket just now?" she demanded. I nodded, cautious. "Yeah, why?" Her nostrils flared. "Because that was my husband." The crowd around us went silent, and for a split second, I swear, even the wind stopped. I raised an eyebrow, trying to hide a smirk. "Well, he's got great taste." Her glare could have set the whole yard sale on fire. And that's when I realized the real drama had just begun. By Sunday morning, the calm suburban streets felt different, heavier somehow. Word had spread faster than free donuts at an HOA meeting. Karen's husband bought something from the Troublemakers sale. When I stepped outside to start cleaning up, I noticed the whispers. Neighbors waved politely, but their smiles carried that oh-you-know-what-happened look. And there, across the street, stood Karen, in full battle mode. Clipboard? Check. Sunglasses? Check. Rage bubbling just beneath the surface. Double check. She called out, "You violated HOA sale protocol, and now your permit is under review." I blinked. Protocol? Karen, it was a yard sale, not a government operation. She marched over, heels clacking on the pavement. "I saw the traffic. I saw the signs you put up without HOA approval. And," she paused for dramatic effect, "you were accepting cash. That's considered commercial activity." I had to bite my tongue not to laugh. "You do realize, it's a yard sale, right? People bring cash to buy old stuff. That's literally the point." She ignored me, pulling a sheet from her clipboard. "You'll receive a violation notice by tomorrow. Multiple, actually." That's when her husband, Tom, came walking down the driveway, holding the very jacket he'd bought from me, wearing it proudly. Karen froze mid-sentence. "Morning, hun," he said casually. "This jacket fits great. Can you believe she was selling it for $20? Her face turned the color of a ripe tomato. You bought that?" Tom looked between us, confused. "Yeah. You said she had great stuff. Didn't think it was a big deal." Karen's jaw clenched so hard I thought she might crack a molar. "It is a big deal, Tom. She's running an unauthorized business on HOA property." I couldn't resist. Technically, my driveway is private property, unless the HOA suddenly owns asphalt now. The neighbors chuckled under their breath. You could see Karen's composure start to crumble. She shot me a death glare. "This isn't over." And with that, she spun around, snatched her phone, and started snapping pictures of everything. My tables, my car, even my mailbox. Tom muttered, embarrassed. "Sorry about her. She gets passionate." "Passionate," I repeated with a half smile. That's one word for it. By the time the sun set, an official-looking envelope was taped to my door. stamped with the HOA logo. Notice of violation, unauthorized sale activity, pending review. I sighed, staring at it. But what Karen didn't know was, I had something she didn't. Proof, security camera proof. And the footage? Well, let's just say it showed a lot more than she wanted anyone to see. That night, I sat on my couch, that violation notice glaring at me from the coffee table. The kind of thing that makes your blood simmer. Not quite boil, but enough to make you start plotting. I opened my laptop and pulled up the footage from my porch camera. I'd installed it months ago after someone kept moving my trash bins out of alignment. Spoiler alert, also Karen. As I scrubbed through the recording, there she was. Noon. Saturday. Karen pacing at the end of my driveway, muttering to herself, then pulling out her phone. Nothing unusual yet. But a few minutes later, she walked up to one of my tables, and she picked up a ceramic vase. She turned it in her hands, glanced around, then slid it into her tote bag. Just like that. I leaned forward, eyes wide. You've got to be kidding me. Karen Williams, HOA queen, had shoplifted from my yard sale, and I hadn't even noticed. I replayed it 3 times just to make sure it wasn't my imagination. Nope, it was crystal clear. The suburban sheriff of aesthetics had just busted herself on camera. The next morning, I printed the footage stills. Clean, color, time-stamped. Then I grabbed my coffee and walked to the HOA office. The receptionist, Jenna, tried to hide a grin when she saw me. She already warned me you might show up. Oh, I'm sure she did, I said, sliding the photos across the counter. Jenna's eyes widened. Is that… Yup, I said, sipping my coffee. Caught her red-handed. Maybe she can issue herself a violation. Within an hour, the HOA president, not Karen her boss, called an emergency board meeting. I was invited. Karen wasn't. When I walked into the small conference room, the air felt thick with tension. 3 board members sat stiffly, eyes darting between the printed photos on the table. This, the president said, tapping one of the images, is a serious accusation. Not an accusation, I replied calmly. Evidence. The door suddenly swung open. Karen stormed in, voice trembling. This is a witch hunt. He's fabricating lies to humiliate me. I kept my tone even. You can't fabricate video, Karen. Her eyes flicked to the stills, to herself on camera, tote bag bulging. For the first time since I'd met her, she had no words. The president sighed heavily. Karen, until this is resolved, you're suspended from HOA duties effective immediately. Gasps echoed around the room. Karen's face drained of color. This isn't fair, she snapped, pointing at me. He set me up. I leaned back, crossing my arms. Karen, you literally set yourself up. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the blinds rattled. I didn't smile. Not yet. I just knew the calm wouldn't last. People like her never go quietly. And I was right, because 2 days later, something happened that made the whole neighborhood turn against her, including the one person she thought she still had on her side. By Tuesday morning, the neighborhood was buzzing again. But this time, the gossip wasn't whispers. It was open conversation. Everyone knew. Karen's suspension spread faster than wildfire at a cookout. People who'd once smiled nervously at her now exchanged smirks when she passed. The mighty head of the HOA had fallen, and the irony wasn't lost on anyone. I didn't mean for it to go public, but once that footage hit the HOA group chat, courtesy of someone on the board, the story was unstoppable. Screenshots, memes, even a short video edit titled Karen, the Fall of the Yard Sale Queen. And then, as if fate had a sense of humor, Tom showed up at my door again. He looked different. The easygoing grin from before was gone, replaced with the weary look of a man who'd spent 3 nights sleeping on the couch. Hey, he said softly, scratching the back of his neck. Mind if I come in for a second? I hesitated, then nodded. Sure. He stepped inside, glancing around at the now empty tables stacked near the garage. She told me what happened. About the vase. I raised an eyebrow. And? He sighed. I knew she was strict, but stealing. That's new. She said she just wanted to inspect it for safety, but… He stopped mid-sentence, shaking his head. I'm not sure she even believes herself anymore. There was a silence between us. Then he smiled faintly. For what it's worth, that jacket's still the best $20 I ever spent. I chuckled. Glad it found a good home. As he left, I noticed Karen standing by the sidewalk, arms crossed, watching. Her eyes met mine for just a second. No words, no clipboard, just quiet humiliation. That night, the HOA sent out an official notice. Karen Williams had voluntarily resigned from her position. Voluntarily, sure. A week later, the community decided to host another yard sale, this time an unofficial one. A few neighbors invited me to join. I almost declined, but something in me wanted closure. Saturday morning rolled around again, warm and golden. My tables were lighter this time, fewer items, but the same cheerful energy. People smiled, laughed, haggled. The air felt free. Halfway through, a car slowed in front of my house. Karen's car. She didn't get out, just sat there for a moment, staring. Then, slowly, she rolled down her window. "Hey," she called out. Her voice wasn't sharp or commanding anymore, just tired. About the vase, I shouldn't have done that. I nodded. Apology accepted. She looked at me, maybe expecting more, but I turned back to a customer, letting the silence speak for itself. After a pause, her engine started and she drove away. As her car disappeared down the street, I couldn't help but smile, because sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting back. It's watching karma handle customer service. And for once, the HOA felt like home again.